Jaden Ott might end up being the most important addition the Chiefs have made all offseason. Not because he was some prized offseason addition, but because for the last 3 years, the Chiefs' offense has been missing the one thing that used to make them almost impossible to defend: explosive yards after the catch. For years, Andy Reid's offense was built around creating easy touches for its playmakers and letting them turn short passes into massive gains. That was the driving force behind the Chiefs becoming the most feared offense in football. Everyone always remembers the deep touchdowns from Tyreek Hill, but what made him truly special wasn't just his speed vertically. It was his ability to catch a 5-yard pass and turn that into a 60-yard gain. Reid consistently manufactured touches for him through screens, slants, ends arounds, and shallow crossers because once Hill got the ball in space, he was untouchable. And historically, this makes sense. Before Andy Reid turned Hill into his ultimate weapon in the short passing game, he always relied on his running backs, from Brian Westbrook to LaShawn McCoy to Jamal Charles. Hill was the first one that broke this pattern because of how special he was with the ball in his hands. But after Tyreek Hill left Kansas City, the offense had to find a way to replace that explosiveness. The Chiefs replaced some of that vertical speed with guys like Marquise Valdez-Scantling, but the yards after the catch that made the underneath passing game deadly disappeared. Suddenly, the Chiefs had to drive the length of the field methodically instead of scoring in 3 to 4 plays. That's where Jerick McKinnon became so important during the second half of that 2022 Super Bowl run. McKinnon wasn't replacing Tyreek Hill's ability to take the top off of a defense. What he did provide was the ability to turn short throws into huge gains. Mahomes could hit him in the flats, throw him screens, check the ball down to him, or get him isolated against linebackers, and McKinnon had the acceleration and short area quickness to turn those touches into home runs. He became Patrick Mahomes' safety valve whenever defenses played two-shell coverage to take away the deep pass. And honestly, since injuries derailed McKinnon's time with the Chiefs and he left after the 2023 season, the offense just hasn't looked the same. The Chiefs have still been good because Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are just too talented for the offense to completely collapse, but they haven't looked like the offensive juggernaut that defenses used to fear. They've become a ball control offense that has to rely on its defense to keep games close. Too many underneath throws turn 6-yard gains instead of the massive plays that make the field feel small. Too many screens feel predictable instead of dangerous. That's why Jaden Ott is so interesting, because his skill set perfectly matches what this offense has been missing for years now. At Cal, Ott showed that he could be one of the most dangerous receiving backs in college football when healthy. That ability is critical in Andy Reid's offense because Reid calls an extremely high volume of screens, swing passes, and dump-offs designed to let his playmakers operate in space. The Chiefs throw short because they want to manipulate defenders horizontally and create run after the catch opportunities. Reid understands that a running back catching the ball with momentum against a linebacker in space is one of the hardest things for a defender to consistently stop. And when the Chiefs' offense is at its peak, those easy underneath completions consistently turn into explosive plays. That's exactly where Ott could thrive. What makes Ott such a natural fit is his combination of patience and explosiveness. Some running backs panic when they catch the ball in space. They immediately try to outrun defenders to the sideline instead of setting up blocks or reading leverage. Ott doesn't do that. He has a natural feel for pacing and understanding how to manipulate pursuit angles. He lets blocks develop, presses defenders into bad positions, and then explodes vertically once he sees a crease. That style fits perfectly into Kansas City's screen game. Defenses are always terrified of Patrick Mahomes attacking the deep, so there are consistently opportunities underneath for backs who can create after the catch. Defense coordinators spend so much time trying to prevent explosive pass plays that they're willing to concede the short completions underneath. If those underneath completions start becoming explosive plays again, it will change how defenses have to play fundamentally, which should reopen the deep passing game again. That's where Ott could become such an important piece of this offense. Now, obviously, there are legitimate concerns with him. If Ott was fully healthy and looked like the same player he was at Oklahoma that he did at Cal, he probably wouldn't have gone undrafted. There's a reason teams are hesitant. Injuries are always dangerous for explosive skill players because so much of their game depends on acceleration and change of direction. If a player loses even a small percentage of that burst, it can completely change how effective they are in space. Then there's the production drop-off after transferring to Oklahoma. At Cal, Ott looked like a future star. He was explosive, productive, and dynamic with the ball in his hands. But after transferring, he essentially disappeared from the national conversation. For a lot of people, that became proof that maybe the Cal production wasn't sustainable. But honestly, I think context matters. Jaden Ott got hurt early in his tenure at Oklahoma, and by the time he was healthy enough to contribute to the team, it already turned to its younger backs. So Ott got buried under the depth chart as the team essentially turned to the future. The benefit here is Ott essentially got to take a year off physically to recover, and there's a real possibility that this is the healthiest he's been in a long time. And that matters because his game has always been built on that explosive nature. If that burst returns the way it was during his 2023 season at Cal, Kansas City might have quietly found the solution to the problem that has plagued them for years. The other thing working in Ott's favor is that he doesn't need to immediately become a featured every down back to have a major impact. Reid doesn't need him to carry the ball 20 times a game. That's why they signed Kenneth Walker III. He just needs him to consistently create explosive plays in specific situations. Third downs, screen passes, 2-minute offense, empty formations. Design mismatches against linebackers. That's the exact role Jerick McKinnon thrived in. And if Ott can successfully fill that role, it changes the entire offense. Because suddenly, defenses can't just sit back in their deep shells and feel comfortable rallying to the football anymore. Now they have to worry about the running back turning a check down into a 30-yard gain. It gives them another thing to think about when they're dropping into coverage. They have to respect the underneath spacing concepts again. And those moments of hesitation are all Patrick Mahomes needs to destroy a defense. That's why I genuinely think Jaden Ott could become one of the most important players on this roster despite entering the league as an undrafted rookie. Not because he's going to replace Tyreek Hill, and not because he's going to become a potential superstar overnight, but because he fills a role that this offense has quietly been missing for years. The Chiefs have still been winning games, but the offense hasn't consistently felt terrifying the way it used to be. The easy explosiveness has disappeared. The hidden yards after the catch, gone. The underneath spacing game stopped generating the same level of chaos that it once did. Jaden Ott has the skill set to bring some of that back. And if he could rediscover the explosiveness he showed at Cal for the first time in years, defenses might actually fear the Chiefs' offense again.